What's up, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to show you the different ways that I like to take my herbs. So let's go ahead and get right into the video. So first, I want to start off with teas. Teas are a very common way to take herbs, but there are three different types of teas. You have infusions, you have decoctions, and then you have a blend of them both. So an infusion is basically steeping the herbs into hot water. Infusions are made with a softer part of the plant because steeping them in hot water is enough to extract all the medicinal properties from the herb to get the most out of it in your tea. Infusions are made with the softer part of the plant because steeping them in hot water is enough to adequately penetrate the herb cell walls. Infusing the leaves, buds, flowers, berries, and some seeds of plants will release a good portion of the herb's components into the water. So just to give you an example of what softer herbs can be referenced as, I have tila, damiana, sage, hops, red clover, and chaparral. So the example I'm going to make in this infusion is something that I would probably use for like PMS. I personally don't have any crazy cramps or anything like that. But when I'm telling you, sis, these mood swings, ever since I got my previous IUD birth control taken out, I feel like my mood swings have been crazy. So for me, this is a tea that I would take. So as far as making the infusion, you're gonna first take a teapot or a bowl or whatever you have to heat up water. I got this teapot from Amazon. It's great because I'm able to use all of my herbs and it not get directly into the water. I will go ahead and link the teapot down below. So I'm gonna start off by pouring some spring water into my teapot. I am then gonna go ahead and let the water boil. After the water has boiled, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the heat. Once the heat is turned off, I'm then gonna take my herbs and put them into the water. The infusion method that I'm referring to can be found in this book. I will go ahead and link this book down below in the description box as well. But according to the book, you're gonna wanna use 1 tablespoon of dried herbs or 1.5 tablespoons of fresh herbs for every 8 ounces of water. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add 1/4 teaspoon of tila. Tila is good for the immune system. It relaxes nerves, relieves depression, it treats insomnia, fever, headaches, migraines, inflammatory skin conditions, and the liver and the gallbladder. I'm going to be using 1/4 teaspoon of sage, and sage is going to be something that I'm going to be using to cleanse, to calm. Sage is a very calming herb and it can help you relax. It's also great for menopausal hot flashes as well as reducing the inflammation in the body. Then I'm going to use 1/4 teaspoon of hops. Hops can break up inflammation, relieve pain, promote digestion, urination, and appetite. It also can help with sleeping disorders. It could reduce anxiety, tension, and help with ADHD, irritability, and nervousness. Then adding 1/4 teaspoon of red clover. Red clover is used as a blood purifier and it also helps with menopausal symptoms. Red clover is used for estrogen properties, a blood purifier, and used to break up calcification in soft tissue and to clean the lymph system of fluid waste. And now I'm going to use 1/2 teaspoon of blue vervain. Blue vervain is one of my favorite herbs. It's one of the first herbs that I actually started using. And I'm telling you, I feel like this herb is just a mood enhancer. It's a happy herb. It just makes me feel good. And it's directly used for menstrual cramps. It can help increase the milk production in women who are breastfeeding. Now I'm going to just take a spoon and make sure that the herbs are completely submerged in water so that the heat can do its work and extract all of the medicinal, wonderful things that these herbs have to offer. I personally like to steep my herbs for 45 to 60 minutes. Obviously, the more that you steep the herbs within a temperature that's going to actually extract without harming the herb's medicinal purposes, the longer you do it, the better it's going to be. The longer they steep, the more chemical components will be extracted as long as the water is hot. The darker the water, the stronger the infusion will be. Most often, I actually make my teas at nighttime, and then the next morning, I just heat them up slightly, and then I'll have it in the morning so that I have like a full 8 hours, 10 hours of the herbs just steeping so that all of the properties can be extracted out of the herbs and I get the most out of my tea. According to this book, these infusion herbs, these softer, more delicate herbs cannot be heated too high. Each herb is different, so I can't give you an exact temperature. So you're gonna always wanna make sure that you're using your softer, more delicate herbs and you're steeping them rather than boiling them and thinking that you're gonna get more. After a certain temperature, you're actually stripping the herb from its medicinal properties by overheating. And then when I am done with my herbs, I like to always return the herbs back to the earth. This is also a really good way that you can fertilize your plants and even your outdoor garden. The next type of tea that I'm going to be showing you is a decoction. So a decoction is made up of more dense herbs. Decoctions are similar to infusions, but they use tougher parts of the plants like roots, twig, and bark. These parts of the plant are harder and tougher. Pouring boiling water on them will release only a small amount of the herb components. Decoctions involve boiling and simmering these parts of the plant so that you can effectively extract the chemical component. Giving you some examples of some herbs that can be used for a decoction are dandelion, yellow dock, burdock root, and sarsaparilla. And blending these herbs together is going to be an example of a decoction that's going to be kind of like a general cleanse. I'm going to be using 1/2 tablespoon of burdock root. Burdock root is a blood purifier, liver cleanser, and kidney cleanser. Next, I'm going to be using 1/2 teaspoon of sarsaparilla root, and sarsaparilla binds with toxins for the removal. Next, I'm going to be using 1/2 teaspoon of yellow dock, and yellow dock is also a blood purifier, liver cleanser, and a kidney cleanser. I'm also going to be using 1/2 teaspoon of dandelion root. Dandelion root is going to be something that's going to give you lots of energy, and it's also used as a replacement for coffee in the morning. It also helps with your skin, liver support, eczema. It's a blood tonic, and it's a liver cleanser. So for this decoction, I'm going to be doing the same thing. I'm going to be filling up my teapot with spring water. The way that I like to do my decoctions is I like to let the water boil. Once the water has boiled, I then add my herbs, and I continue to let the water boil for about 10 minutes. And then after that, I like to reduce the heat to a simmer, and I like my herbs to simmer for a minimum of 1 hour. Turn off the heat, let it infuse over the night, and then in the morning I would just turn it on, let it heat, and enjoy my tea. According to the book, the way he likes to do his decoctions is same thing. You're using 1 tablespoon of dried herbs or 1.5 tablespoon of fresh herbs for every 8 ounces of water. He likes to boil, then cover and simmer, and reduce the heat on low for 30 minutes, allow the herbs to simmer. Another tip that he mentions in this book is if you would like to make a larger quantity of tea, you would then just multiply. So for example, you would multiply the tablespoon per herbs in ounces of water by the same number to increase the amount of infusions. So if you use 4 tablespoons, you will then be using 32 ounces of water. So those are 2 different examples of different ways that you can extract herbs into teas. Now, infusions and decoctions are not a this or that for me personally. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10 or even 10 times out of 10, I'm actually blending both of them together. So the example of the blend that I'm going to show you is for somebody who has fibroids or very heavy menstrual cycles. This is actually something that I got from the book. I did change a few components, but for the most part, it's pretty similar. So I'm first gonna take hydrangea root. Hydrangea root is an anti-inflammatory, antiseptic, and it dissolves calcium deposits in soft tissue. Then I'm going to take 1 part of sarsaparilla root, and sarsaparilla can be used for sexual impotence, and it also binds with toxins for the removal of the blood in the body. I'm gonna use 1 part mugwort, and mugwort isn't in this recipe that's in the book, but I like to use mugwort because it is used for women who have very heavy periods and also can help relieve menstrual PMS. Next, I'm going to be using 1 part Damiana. Damiana can be used to balance hormones and shrink fibroids. And next, I'm going to be using sea moss, and I don't really need to say much for sea moss. I'm sure y'all all know about sea moss. And for the purpose of this blend, sea moss supports connective tissues in your yoni. So once again, I'm going to start off with my spring water, and the herbs that are the most dense, which you would have to use for a decoction, are going to be the sarsaparilla as well as the hydrangea root. So I'm going to take my 1 part of the hydrangea root and then 1 part of my sarsaparilla root, and I'm going to boil these for a minimum of 10 minutes and let them simmer for about 20. Then after the 30 minutes is up of them boiling / simmering, I'm then going to add my more delicate herbs so that I can use these as an infusion. I'm going to take 1 part of the mugwort and 1 part of the Damiana and let these infuse in the tea. I'm now gonna let this tea infuse for about 1 hour, or basically until the teapot isn't hot to touch. After it's infused, I'm gonna then pour it into a teacup and then add 1/4 teaspoon of my sea moss powder. This sea moss powder is hard to stir, so you're gonna have to use your spoon and kind of scrape it on the edge of the cup so that it doesn't get too clumpy. I personally love citrus in my teas, but especially with sea moss because it does have a very strong ocean-like taste. I feel like the lime helps kind of balance out that flavor, so I'm gonna add a fresh squeezed lime into my tea, and then I'm gonna go ahead and enjoy. Those are the 3 different most common ways that I like to have my teas, through infusions, decoctions, and most of the time I just blend both together. The next way I like to enjoy my herbs is through a nice refreshing fruit smoothie. For this blend of herbs and smoothie, this is gonna be helping my respiratory system, gonna allow me to breathe and be clear if I'm feeling congested in my chest, if I feel like I'm getting the flu, or if I'm getting the cold, sniffles, or allergies. These 3 herbs are great for the respiratory system. I'm gonna be using mullein, ginger root, and elderflower. Oranges are packed with vitamin C, which is gonna help you boost your immune system. So instead of just using spring water, I like to take 2 oranges and freshly squeeze them into my juicer. Then I'm gonna be adding mangoes. Mangoes are also surprisingly packed with a whole bunch of vitamin C, which is gonna help you boost your immune system. Then I'm going to add blueberries, and blueberries are very high in antioxidants. Now I'm gonna take 1/4 teaspoon of mullein. Mullein has anti-influenza, antibacterial, antiviral, and anti-inflammatory components. It is directly used to help treat and boost the immune system and remove mucus from the respiratory tract and the lungs. Now I'm gonna use 1/4 teaspoon of ginger root, and ginger root is an anti-inflammatory and it's gonna help boost the immune system. Then I'm gonna be using 1/4 teaspoon of elderflower. Elderflowers are a different part of a plant to something that people commonly use for flus, which is elderberry. This is also an anti-influenza and anti-inflammatory, and it's gonna help boost your immune system. Then I would blend these all together and serve. The next way that I like to take my herbs is use them in breakfast or soups or things like that. Depending on the herb, because not all herbs are the best tasting, but you have your herbs that are more bitter and more potent, and then you have some of your herbs that are gonna be more nutty and more earthy. Depending on your taste buds, these might blend very well with some of the things that you like to make day to day. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you an example of an amaranth bowl. Amaranth, as I've mentioned in other videos, is an alkaline grain. These are native to the Mayans, and it is completely alkaline. It's a great source of fiber and a great source of protein. On my amaranth bowl, I would then like to add some hemp seed. Not only is hemp seed a complete source of protein, but I also really like the texture that it gives my amaranth bowl. Then next, I like to add flaxseed, and flaxseed is very high in fiber, and it's also high in estrogen. And then for a little bit of sweetness, I like to add my strawberry puree. And now for the herbs, I'm going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of ashwagandha and 1/4 teaspoon of maca. These herbs are both adaptogens, and for this meal, this is something that I would have as an energizing post-workout muscle-building meal. Ashwagandha is known to balance the stress levels, and maca can help with gaining weight. Both of these herbs are also used to balance out hormones, boost testosterone, and also help with estrogen levels. Another way that I have incorporated herbs into my cooking is in one of my alkaline videos. This is a soup that I made, and this is great because for people who don't necessarily want to take the herbs, but you kind of have to slip them in and sneak them in, this is a soup that I make whenever I feel like I'm getting sick. And when I add sea moss and bladderwrack and some lime, you can make a really healthy broth for a soup. If you guys are interested in checking out this video to its entirety, I will go ahead and link it down below in the description box. Honestly, mixing herbs directly in food is something you kind of have to play with, especially with people having different taste buds. It could be a fun way to get creative with your cooking so that you can give your family, friends, loved ones, or even yourself the medicinal benefits of these herbs in your day-to-day food. And the next and final way that I like to take my herbs is in capsules. This is probably the most common way that people take herbs. In this book, he kind of stresses that he personally doesn't like buying capsules because there's been instances where capsules have been bought and they've been tested by labs and they've come back to not actually have what's stated that is in the capsule. And the way that I see it is plants all have a natural cycle just like all natural things in life. For example, somebody can tell you that they're giving you Damiana capsules, but if the part of the Damiana plant is taken when it hasn't reached its nutritional capacity, then yes, it's Damiana, but it's not a very potent form of Damiana. So just for example, in a simpler complex, I'm gonna actually probably do a video on this because I feel like it's a tough subject to kind of cover, but take it as this. You have a but I'm gonna try to explain it because it's gonna bother me. So take it as this. You have a bush and it's a rose bush, but it's the winter. So if you pick the rose bush right now in the winter time and you try to give them to your significant other, your mom, or for yourself, or try to put them in a vase in your house, there's not going to be rosebuds on the rose bush. It's still going to be rose, but it's not going to be the rose that you're used to receiving. Same thing for herbs. People can pick out of the Damiana plant or the hops plant. But if it's not in the nutritional cycle of where it's at its highest form with the nutritional benefits, then you're not really getting what you're not really getting out of it what you're buying it for, if that makes any sense. I will do a whole video on that just in case you guys don't understand what I'm saying. But in this video, he actually likes to buy the herbs in bulk and then blend them down himself. So in this video, I'm going to make antiviral capsules. These capsules are going to be great for sexually transmitted diseases, viral infections, inflammatory infections, and things of that nature. So I'm going to be using cat's claw, chaparral, and yellow dock root. First, I'm going to take 1 teaspoon of yellow dock root, then blend that next to 1 teaspoon of cat's claw. Then I have my chaparral. Chaparral is going to be an infusion herb, so it's a more delicate herb, so I'm not gonna put this in the blend just yet. So a very DIY way of doing this is getting these herbs and putting them into a mortar and pestle and grinding them down. This is actually gonna be very hard because these are roots. I personally am showing you guys this example, but if it were up to me, I would just put this in my Ninja and then blend them down. This is actually fenugreek seeds that I've blended in my blender, and it got down to a pretty fine powder, but it definitely could be broken down more. So if you're gonna do it this way that I've put in the video, it's gonna take you some time, but if you can invest into a high quality blender or herb grinder, then it would be best to do that. And then taking these veggie capsules that I got, I would then just put the herbs into the capsule and then close them. This is a very DIY way of doing it. I personally have a herb capsule maker. If you guys want a video on a more effective way to do it, I will go ahead and do that for you. And when doing this is something that you can take daily or for a periodic time, depending on the herbs that you're using. In this book, he mentions how much you should have of each herb daily. Obviously, you would want to consult a holistic doctor or your primary doctor to see if they are able to be used if you are taking other medications, or if you have any prior health concerns, or if you're pregnant or things of that. But yeah, those are the different types of ways that I like to take my herbs. I hope this video was informative. If you would like me to elaborate on any part of this video, go ahead and put that down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will go ahead and link all of the herbs that I use, as well as some of the items that are used in this video, in the description box. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next upload. Peace!